Last year, I went trick or treating and told dad jokes, but I only got a couple Snickers. Today, I'm going to recap a 1998 action crime film called Thursday. The film begins in a small shop in Los Angeles late at night. Here Nick, a low-level drug seller, struggles to choose a coffee flavor. His former lover, Dallas, and fellow assassin, Billy Hill, are losing patience with his indecision and urge him to make a quick choice. Nick finally settles on chocolate macadamia, but finds the dispenser empty. He complains to the store clerk, who suggests picking another flavor. Nick grudgingly opts for hazelnut coffee and heads to the register. There, he insists on a complimentary cake, but the clerk informs him it's only free with a 20-ounce coffee. This annoys Dallas, who responds by shooting the clerk. Shortly after, they spot a police car nearing the store. To avoid suspicion, Nick acts as the clerk, with Dallas and Billy pretending to be customers. A police officer enters for coffee, and initially, they hide the body from him. However, he soon notices blood on the floor, leading them to eliminate him too. The story shifts to Texas, introducing Casey, a former drug-dealing associate of Nick's. They had split up years ago, with Casey turning his life around. He's now happily married to Christine, and they're excited about adopting a child. One Thursday morning, Casey gets a call from Nick, asking if he can stay for a few days. Although hesitant, Casey agrees when Nick mentions he's getting married. While making breakfast, Casey tells Christine about Nick's visit. She's puzzled, having never heard of Nick, but rushes off to work before discussing further. She mentions she'll be late home due to dinner with her boss and reminds Casey of an appointment with Dr. Jarvis from the adoption agency. Precisely at 8 p.m., Nick shows up at Casey's place, and the two old buddies are thrilled to see each other after so long. Nick inquires about Casey's life, learning that Casey is now working as an architect. Surprised, Nick comments that Casey seems much less exciting than he used to be. Not long after, Nick mentions he needs to run some errands and asks to borrow Casey's car because his own has a flat tire. Casey immediately hands him the keys and Nick leaves. Meanwhile, Casey tries to get back to work but finds himself distracted. Passing by the guest room, he notices one of Nick's briefcases that looks familiar from their drug-dealing days. After some thought, Casey decides to check the bag and, to his dismay, discovers it's full of heroin. Furious, he confronts Nick over the phone, demanding he remove the drugs from his house. However, Nick says he can't leave yet due to unfinished business. Threatening to call the police and hand over the drugs, Casey doesn't get the reaction he expects from Nick. Overcome with anger, Casey disposes of the heroin in his kitchen trash unit. At nearly midnight, Casey hears the doorbell. He opens it to find a pizza delivery boy, who unexpectedly assaults him and holds him at gunpoint. The delivery man is revealed to be a Jamaican Rasta assassin named Ice, who inquires about the drugs. Casey admits he's already thrown them away. Ice calls his boss, who instructs him to kill Casey. Before Ice can act, Casey offers to share some marijuana with him. Ice, unable to resist the offer, agrees. As they smoke, Ice shares about himself, revealing his ambition to become a rapper and his involvement in the underworld solely for financial reasons. For an hour, they both indulge heavily in smoking marijuana. Suddenly, Ice stands and announces it's time to proceed with his plan to kill Casey. However, he's interrupted by a phone call from a friend who requests a rap performance. Ice, albeit reluctantly, starts rapping. Seizing the moment, Casey overpowers Ice and binds him with duct tape, confining him in the garage. Soon, the doorbell rings again. Opening it, Casey finds Dr. Jarvis, who has arrived for an adoption evaluation interview. In a rush and slightly high, Casey quickly tidies up the drug evidence and sprays air freshener before letting the doctor in. Dr. Jarvis is there to assess Casey's suitability as an adoptive parent. Casey tries to calmly answer the initial questions, but Dr. Jarvis is keen to learn about his past life in Los Angeles. Casey does his best to hide both his past and his recent altercation with Ice. In the middle of the interview, Dallas arrives. Looking for money, she believes Nick left with the heroin. Casey informs her that Nick isn't there and asks her to leave, but she enters regardless. Dr. Jarvis, mistaking her for a friend of Casey, invites her to join the conversation. Dallas agrees and shockingly discloses Casey's past as a feared drug dealer known for his ruthlessness and willingness to kill. This revelation unsettles Dr. Jarvis, who promptly decides to leave, clearly not intending to approve Casey's application for adoption. Casey tries to stop him, but Dr. Jarvis leaves without listening. Immediately after Dr. Jarvis' departure, Dallas confronts Casey with a gun, ties him to a chair, and demands to know about the money Nick brought. Casey insists he has no knowledge about the money, explaining he left the criminal world behind years ago. At this point, the reason for Casey's departure from his life of crime is disclosed. A flashback reveals a drug deal involving him and Nick going awry, leading to a violent exchange. During this, Casey accidentally kills a woman who was 8 months pregnant, an incident that deeply haunts him and prompts his decision to leave that life. Dallas, unmoved by his story, decides to wait for Nick's return and expresses a desire to become intimate with Casey. Casey strongly objects, citing his marriage, but Dallas disregards his protests and begins to undress, attempting to force herself on him. This assault is abruptly interrupted when Billy enters and shoots Dallas, splattering Casey with her blood. Billy, also after the money, informs Casey that Nick had taken $2 million from the police and believes Casey knows its whereabouts. He prepares to torture Casey using a saw and a blowtorch to extract the information. As Billy boasts about his methods, they hear police sirens. Billy quickly hides his tools and leaves to investigate. Meanwhile, Casey frees himself and arms himself with a frying pan, resuming his tied-up position just in time. Billy returns, relieved that the police were at a neighboring house. He resumes his plan but notices the duct tape on the floor. Before he can react, Casey strikes him repeatedly with the frying pan, knocking him out. Casey then points a gun at the unconscious Billy but restrains himself from shooting, reflecting on his changed identity. Instead, he ties Billy up in the garage, hanging him upside down next to ice. Soon after, Nick contacts Casey from a public phone. He apologizes for the chaos he's caused, confessing to stealing the heroin and money from the police. Sensing despair in Nick's voice, Casey inquires about his situation, but Nick simply states his intention to leave the country and bids farewell. After they hang up, it's revealed that Nick is gravely injured, bleeding out from a gunshot wound. Casey then cleans himself and his house, which is in complete disarray and covered in blood. Around 5 p.m., a corrupt police officer named Kasarov shows up with a bag. This officer is the one Nick stole money from. Inside the bag, to Casey's horror, is Nick's decapitated head. Kasarov, like the others before him, demands to know where the money is, but Casey remains clueless. Kasarov seems to believe him, but expects Casey might know where Nick might have hidden it. He gives Casey an ultimatum: find the money by 7 p.m., and he'll clear Casey of the incidents from Thursday, using this as leverage against Casey, knowing about the dead bodies and captives in his garage. He quickly shoots the captives in the garage and instructs Casey to dispose of them, noting it's garbage day. After Kasarov leaves, Casey follows his gruesome advice, mutilating the bodies for disposal in his trash. He then notices Nick's car parked outside and recalls Nick's mention of a flat tire. Investigating the car, he discovers the money hidden in the spare tire and a small gift box from Nick, containing watches for both him and his wife, Christine. Casey then uses Ice's phone to deceive Ice's boss, setting a trap by claiming the heroin wheel be auctioned at his house at 7 p.m., pitting the Jamaican gang against Kasarov's corrupt officers. Meanwhile, Casey takes Dallas's Lamborghini and rushes to meet his wife. As planned, at 7 p.m., the Jamaican gang and Kasarov's officers clash violently at Casey's house. Meanwhile, Casey surprises Christine at the airport, announcing his plans to flee to France and inviting her to join him. Conflicted between her career and her love for Casey, Christine initially hesitates. However, just as Casey is about to leave alone, she decides to go with him, asking him to explain everything on their way. If you enjoyed this video, don't be shy to hit the like button, and if you disliked it, hit the dislike button twice, just to be sure. It would be best if you watched the whole movie. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe for more videos like this.